Hello everyone, welcome once again to Constantine Discussions. I am Captain Logan, and here with me as always is the amazing Beware the Steve Baxi.
Hello everybody, how are you doing?
Steve, as always with this show, or at least as usual, we've got another treat. Today we're talking about Quid Pro Quo, and what is this, like fourth from the end of the stretch we have shot so far?
Yeah, this is episode 10, so we got 11, 12, and 13. Only 3 left.
So sad, man. I don't want to see this go, and there's still, I don't think, any word about whether or not it's getting renewed, and I know we talked about that.
We'll talk about it, I guess, near the end, but this episode actually had better ratings than last week's, so we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's really good, and I'm glad more people watched it, because this is kind of a pivotal one, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and go to our opening statements right away, Steve. Putting 20 minutes on the clock. And Steve, how'd you feel about this episode? What was your best moment, your worst moment?
I feel like I'm just echoing myself from every other discussion we did. This episode was amazing. Everything worked. I loved all the characters. End of discussion.
Oh, all right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for watching Constantine Discussions. We sure appreciate
it. No, but I'm glad. We were talking about this earlier, but I'm glad they made us wait on Chaz's origin. It really did work, and it was really great to see how these two guys worked with each other, what their dynamic was, and their idiosyncrasies before we get there. The thing with Chaz and the 47 lives and how well that parallels to John, about John only having one life, and he's constantly prolonging it, Chaz constantly killing himself, doing the same work, but the difference is just intention. The stuff with John's mother at the end, and how Chaz is living for his family, but dying from it, and John is just living, and it makes this really fascinating, weird contradiction in John, where he's best friends with Chaz, and he likes Chaz a lot, and he can support Chaz, but he can't live like him, and It's almost like the universe is telling him not to do that, and it's really kind of depressing. It goes back into like the comics of it's sort of an angry situation, where what can you do but kind of just chain smoke and live your life like a consequentialist. I think my best moment is at the end when Chaz is going to his daughter and he opens the book with all of the names. And he
Quit
says,
picking mine, dude!
Was a nurse.
Stop picking mine!
I'm sorry, I didn't think he was gonna be mine, but the way he opened it and he said this is who that was, it just sent a chill down my spine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he cares that much.
Yeah,
wow.
Right in the feels, right? Like...
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't have a worst moment because this show was amazing, and why would I? The only thing I can say I didn't like is I don't think the actress for his daughter was very good.
Oh, I thought she was okay. I actually wasn't real impressed with the actress for his ex-wife.
Yeah, she wasn't great either. Those two just kind of felt like they were there for a couple of scenes, and that's really all they did. They didn't do much. Or like her scream when Chaz blew up wasn't great either.
His daughter had a look, though. I like she had a really distinct and almost kind of like classic horror film. The victim girl that can almost see it coming thing. You know what I mean? Like they were playing with that trope a little bit, especially with the doll and all of that. I kind of dug that. You know, they keep subverting that kind of stuff where they'll do it, and then later there'll be some kind of cool like twist, or not a gimmicky twist, but but just something different about it. And this time it was. This is going to be somebody that's actually related to a person that you've been watching on the show, as opposed to just some random person, and I really appreciated that. I'm going to echo a lot of what Steve said. I loved this episode. I thought it was just absolutely wonderful. I think this might be my favorite so far. I was really captivated by it, and I think it's because I've been waiting to get a lot from Chaz, and they've made him a very mysterious character. He keeps to himself. You don't really know who he is. You don't know even really what his morality is very much. He seems like... In previous episodes, there are moments where I'm like, he seems like a nice enough guy, but let's see what he's actually like. You know what I mean? Like there are always hints that he was this kind of family man, and you had mentions of his family, but there were hints that like he was kind of maybe a pretty kind and considerate guy, and that he had sort of this sense of duty, but you didn't know where it came from. Usually I resist stuff like this, where you, in a pilot, have this big, giant mystery where it's a thing that everybody else in the show, or at least your main characters, well, two of them, because obviously Zed doesn't know. But like your two main characters in the show know that he's not immortal and why he's able to keep dying and come back from the dead. But this show gives the audience a lot of credit so much of the time that I kind of bought that there might be a good reason for it, and ultimately there was. Not only that, but it was especially satisfying. It was exceptionally satisfying. When we finally found out what it was, I'm glad I had to wait for it, because it was a really cool reveal that he's got all these souls in him, and he can only die a certain number of times, and it's like he's a cat times, like, what, 5. I thought all that was really neat, and the reason I like being, for lack of a better word, strung along on that particular point, the reason it works here and it doesn't in other places is that it doesn't come off as a gimmick. It doesn't come off like they think that's the only thing that you're coming back to find out. When would anybody have ever brought it up? I mean, that's what I really like about it, is that this show doesn't do a lot of clunky expository dialogue. They give us enough credit that we'll get things when we need to get things, and they're not... The only time that people really explain things to each other is when somebody is standing there that legitimately doesn't understand and doesn't know a thing. And they wouldn't have any reason to tell us that about this yet. It's a very personal thing for Chaz. I don't think he really wants people to necessarily know about it. I think he's not embarrassed. Maybe that's not the right word, but I mean, like, I think he feels bad about it. It's kind of his curse. And so anyway, I really liked all that. I liked his whole sense of duty and responsibility thing. I liked that once again he's another casualty of John's. And you're right about the contrast between their motivations, the reason that they each do what they do. One of them is motivated by guilt, and the other one is motivated by a sense of responsibility. Chaz has more of a Spider-Man thing going on than a Batman thing, and I really, really like that. Oh, he's so likable. Give him his own TV show. I mean, I really, really liked this guy. Also, thought it was super cool that the bad guy in this was played by the bell dinghy guy from Breaking Bad, and he was super creepy as always. I'll go to my best moment, worst moment, real quick. I had a couple. My big one, just like you, was the photo album. I couldn't believe you said that, Steve. That's like a blink you miss it moment.
Be that good, man.
I wrote it down. You find out that he went and researched and figured out who all those people were, and I mean, it just hit me in a place. I also, on a more superficial level, really liked the invisible lion-like dream demon. I thought that was a really cool special effect. My worst moment is super, super minor, Steve. I did not understand, and unless this is, again, a thing that's part of the mythology that John Constantine hasn't felt the need to come out and tell me about, why was he so quick to say that it must be a man who had stolen the girl's soul? He says that several times before we finally find out who did it, and clearly he didn't know that it was the Faust guy. And because they have to go figure that out and reason it out, and so he keeps saying it's a man. How can he be sure it's not a demon or something? I didn't get that.
That's a good question. I think it may be just because the type of spells and stuff. Because I've noticed with this show, they'll just use magical things that are real in occult mythology and not explain them.
Yeah.
So it might be something like that, maybe something just from the words you can inference, and the showrunners are really good about that. So the stone he was using, they'll tweet you what that actually is and where that comes from and why it's real.
I get that,
so maybe it was just one of those things.
I get that, but the problem is you would have to say either that the way it was done was clearly an incantation that only a human being would come up with, or you'd have to say that demons are not capable of collecting souls like that. And I don't know that that's true. I don't know that we've dealt with it yet.
Yeah, it's a reasonably well thought question. I'm not entirely sure what to get out of free card is. I'm not sure what this.
The other thing, and this wasn't a moment so much as just a general complaint, I thought that some of the dialogue was kind of mumbling in this episode. I kept wishing that I had subtitles, and it's not just a me thing because my wife had it too. She looked at me about halfway through and said, "Are you having a hard time picking up on some of the dialogue?" And I said, "Yeah, I thought it was just me."
Yeah, I kind of had the same thing. I'm kind of chalking it up to the same thing. Certain people think the scenes are too dark lit. Yeah. It was just an audio thing, or the TV screen you were watching it on. But it's hard to say without a second opinion somewhere else.
Well, I mean, I'm going to count you as my second opinion. They either mix the dialogue wrong, or it's just a kind of. Well, see, I want to chalk it up to a European accent thing, because sometimes British accents, and I forget what is he, Welsh?
Yes.
So sometimes it'll be kind of like speaking another language, where anybody that grew up with him, no matter how much you thought he mumbled, would know precisely what he was saying, right? But I haven't had that in a lot of other episodes, and it wasn't just with him either. It was with Zed and stuff too.
And I had a little bit with Faust as well.
Yeah, so did I. So it might have been the way the sound was mixed. And I'm with you. I've been having that problem in the last couple episodes with the dark thing. We said early on, I think me and Eric, that we didn't have that problem that other people were with how darkly lit it was. I did this episode.
Yeah, it's been like that, I want to say, like, a couple episodes before the finale onward. It's just kind of been consistently really darkly lit. I'm not sure what they changed up, or if, like, their budget shrank, or what.
Minor complaints, though. I mean, the rest of the production quality is really great, and the script is excellent, and, of course, the acting is always is top-notch. And the most sophisticated of these shows that we're watching right now, I believe.
Yeah, this and Agent Carter are some of the best we've got in a while.
I'm going to see if folks have questions and comments. Steve, would you please tell us your trivia question for this week?
Okay, so my trivia question is, this book is based on the Hellblazer story, All His Engine. And Felix Faust is in this episode, and he replaces another character. So my question is, who was the original antagonist of All His Engines?
Ooh, that's cool. My question kind of naturally is, how many souls does Chaz still have left after he gets killed at the end of this episode? And spoiler alert.
I'll tell you a trivia note after we get the answer to that, because it's really funny when you find out where that comes from.
And spoiler alert, brought back to life. He doesn't just die. He comes back to life. I think I'm right about the number. I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong about it, but that's my trivia question. Okay, anything else you want to bring up about the episode, Steve? I'm looking for questions and comments, but I don't think as many people live watch this show as watch some of our other shows, so I'm not seeing a whole lot of stuff yet.
Right. Well, another best moment I wanted to mention that I didn't talk about, but I did see the comments somewhere, was when, right after we get the scene with Chaz, we get that scene in the hospital with Zed, and she tells him that his mom doesn't blame him for her death. Yeah. And then John just has a look on his face and just lays there on the bed, and there's like a hint of a smile before the episode ends. I thought that was fantastic.
That was really good, yeah. And again, I don't think it comes too far out of nowhere. What she did could definitely get her to where she would see his mom. I guess I could buy that. It did seem like kind of easy setup for where we're going, but it was reasonable. Steve, let's look at some other questions and comments from folks, shall we? Trackazor132 says, I'm pretty sure the guy who played Faust also played Ace Ventura's landlord. Is that true?
I have no idea.
I haven't seen that. Awesome. I haven't seen that movie in years, but when I saw that guy in Breaking Bad, I went, I know him from somewhere. He's a character actor. I know he's been in stuff. Now I want to go back and watch Ace Ventura. Not that I love that movie or anything, but I kind of want to go back and look at that again now and see just how much younger he looks, because I kind of remember that guy always being old.
Yeah, so do I. He looks like one of those guys like Patrick Stewart where he's always the same age, just perpetually.
I mean, he's got to be in his late 60s, early 70s, right?
Well, according to Wikipedia, he's 75.
Is he? It's cool that he's doing all this work. I thought he was really, really unnerving and creepy in this.
Yeah, I loved him. I thought he worked a lot better than the bad guy they had in the comics, because that guy was just really boring and bland and had this really annoying personality. But Faust, man, they really amped it up. He had some great dialogues. My favorite line was from him.
Yeah, I thought this guy had some really good, was a really good manipulator. Something I didn't, and tell me if I'm right about this, because my wife and I argued about this. It took me a minute to figure it out, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Did he not specifically pick Chaz's daughter in order to try to get at Constantine and get him to do things for him?
It didn't seem like that. What I thought it was is he got daughter, and then Constantine just contacted him randomly. But now that Constantine was en route, he decided to use him, because that's the way I read the death scene of that Fennel guy.
Well, I just thought it was... See, I thought there was a mention of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but if not, that might be a bit of a problem, because it would be kind of convenient that he specifically went after Chaz's daughter, because he doesn't have that many souls.
Well, maybe not entirely, because he's powered by the rising darkness. So if that thing has a grudge against John, maybe just steered him towards Chaz's daughter.
That's possible.
We don't know where that's going yet.
But you want them to tell us that retroactively, then.
Yeah, probably. Yes, I don't know. I would have to rewatch it. I've only seen it one time, so I'm not entirely sure where that comes from.
I like. Let's see. There's another comment I wanted to mention, but now I can't find it. Somebody said they liked that. That Chaz's power came from a drunk trick, which is kind of, which is true. That is kind of funny.
Yeah, it is hilarious.
It's weird that one of the most powerful things we've seen John do is with maybe not the I don't know. That's pretty powerful, man. Was like
done anything quite as effective as that. No.
Yeah, it was like while he was drunk, and it's really funny that it's played that it's kind of played up like, oh, he's nothing's even happened.
Yeah, Chaz's reaction to that is kind of priceless. He's just looking at him with a death glare.
Okay, have we give me 1 second here. Have we dealt with quotes and stuff yet? We haven't, have we?
No, I don't think we said any quotes yet. We just went from best moment, worst moment to the other discussion.
Okay. We had some technical difficulties, folks, on the live show, so that's why we're a little bit scattered right now. Okay, let's go ahead and do some of those categories then. Steve, what was your favorite quote?
I really like the line Faust has to Chaz when he says, "I know what it is to toil beneath lesser men. Have you come to curry favor with a better one?" Yeah,
that's good. For me, kind of the definitive line for this episode was reality is 9/10 perception, and my reality it's 11/10.
Yeah, that was really good.
And kind of sums up a lot of not just what this episode is about, but kind of plot-wise at least what's been going on this whole season, really. Steve, for comic references, would you tell us a little bit about the story that this was based on?
Yeah, so it's based on All His Engines, which is a Hellblazer graphic novel. It's by Mike Carey, and so the show's been jumping around. We've got the Garth Ennis stuff, we've got Jamie Delano stuff, and we've got Mike Carey stuff now. In that story, it's not Chaz's daughter, it's his granddaughter that gets taken.
Oh, weird.
The stuff with Fennel, the guy that they contact and gets burned alive, that's kind of the same from the comics. Felix Faust is not the bad guy, and my trivia question will reveal later, like, who the actual bad guy to that is. But he's a demon that talks and acts like he's a Hollywood producer. And he's
weird.
Really strange.
That's cool.
The doll that we see constantly used with Chaz and his daughter is actually an identical replica from what they have in the comics.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's also a couple other things, too, for references. But yours is about the number of deaths, so I'm going to hold off on those two.
Have you not mentioned that there have been other episodes that were based on stories and you thought that they actually were better in the show?
Yeah, this is one of those, yeah. Because All These Engines, if you sit down and read it, it's not great in my opinion. It's really boring. It's really long and draggy. But because this episode refocuses on Chaz's character and his origins, it's a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
The other big adaptation we had was the first couple issues of Hellblazer Hunger, which was, I think, the third episode of this with Gary Lester. And that's about as good as the comics, too. If you ever want to know what Hellblazer comics are like, it's essentially that episode of this episode.
Let's go ahead and go on to trivia questions then. What is your trivia question for this week?
You mean the answer?
Did we already do the trivia questions? Oh, yes, we did. I'm sorry. Once again, forgive me. I'm a little scattered because we had that weird thing that happened on the live show, and we're like 15 minutes later from that. Anyway, okay. Yes, of course. What was your answer?
The answer was the demon's name is Ben-Rule.
I am pretty sure I'm right about this. I think that he's down to 30 now, or is it 31?
It's 30.
Yeah.
Because he had 32, and then he slit his throat, and he went down to 31, and he made a point of that. Then he blew himself up with Faust, so it's 30.
That's cool. And now it's going to be impossible not to be keeping track of it, right? Like, every time he gets killed, I'm going to be, like tallying off.
Yeah. It makes you want to go back and see if the other episodes don't disturb that number at all. But something cool about that is the club that gets set on fire is caught on fire by that band, Lily and Axe. And that band actually has a song titled 47 Ways to Die.
Oh, that's really cool!
And they didn't know that going in. It was a complete coincidence. Apparently the band told them about it afterwards.
That's pretty... And you know what else is a coincidence? We, right at this very moment, have 47 viewers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I am not making that up on the live show right now. I just jumped to 48, but we had 47 as I said that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, anyway, do you have any final thoughts about this particular episode, Steve?
No, not particularly. I think we summed it up pretty well. It's just a really good episode. I'm not sure if I like it as much as the second Papa Midnight episode, but it's certainly up there.
Yeah, that's a big contender. I liked the Fallen Angel episode a lot too, but I think part of that's just because we finally got a better sense of Manny. This is one of those episodes that I'm kind of impressed with because as I'm going through, I'm finding the wife really typical, and then at the end they sold me a little bit more on her, and I appreciated that because that's not a real cool role to get to play for that lady, right? Like we've seen that. We've seen the wife who hates her husband for not paying enough attention to the family 1,000 times. But once again, I think I like her more because I like him. Once you get to the end of it.
Yeah, and she's not pestering either, right? Like in the comics, she has this problem of she's constantly nagging, and that's sort of the joke. Is like she is a 80s conservative woman, and no one likes her because she's always really annoying and yaps a lot. But here she's not like that at all. She's sympathetic to a degree.
Yeah. Like
the fact that Chaz can't see his daughter all the time would naturally grate on her. The fact that he's got 47 souls built up on him and he's doing these insane things. It's not easy to handle for someone that just lives there in New York like that.
Yeah, it's hard to make that character feel like anything but kind of a victim, right? Like, she's... Yeah. And just like with a lot of characters that we've had, especially female characters, curiously, she hates John, and she has really good reasons for not liking John. Yeah. And you could maybe make some correlations a little bit between her and John's ex-girlfriend from last episode.
Yeah, and I'm sure as we progress and get some more maybe John's history, or if we develop the Zed relationship, there's certainly going to be a motif with John and women, and that's certainly there in the comics as well.
Oh, I think that motif is there already from the beginning. I think I think that it is important and not a coincidence that many of the people that he's affected, and that more importantly, he feels so guilty about in destroying their lives, have been women. He's got mommy issues, right? Like it starts with John feeling guilty, feeling like unreasonably guilty for his mother's death, and then it's a girl who he commits to hell in compounding that road to redemption that started with his mother's death. At some point before the Rising Darkness happened, he should have just gotten out of the game and forgiven himself. And now that you have the whole Rising Darkness thing, he's stuck in a catch-22 and he can't do that, and that's what all of this is about. But yeah, women are already important.
Yeah, and it's constantly he's going to be a better person. His experience is changing his ways, but at the end of the day, he always has to go back to what he was because that's the only way he's going to be able to survive. Like the end of this episode, when he hears that thing about Zed and his mother. It would be probably really difficult to go forward without him trying to struggle to stay the kind of course he's on. Because now he doesn't really have like that nightmare fuel that kept him going for so many years. Like there's finally proof that he's been forgiven to some extent, and he can only deny it now.
Yeah, it's that really negative, horrible thing that is the thing that drives him in the first place. Kind of interesting how Gotham is dealing with that same idea, but not nearly as sophisticated of a way of what it is that drives a person. But I think that's both there. Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and close up now for Constantine. Thanks everybody for watching. We sure appreciate it. And if you're not watching live and you watch this after the fact, and you have anything you'd like us to talk about from the next episode after you've watched it, I hope that there's more than 3 down the road. I really hope so. Go to geekvolution.com, go to the contact page, and send us your questions and comments. Steve, thanks for joining me as always. Sure appreciate it. And we will see you next time on Constantine Discussions. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi. Hopefully we'll be doing this for 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Yeah, or, I take 2 or 3 more, but yeah, I take a full season.
More, but I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, me too. Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.